Okay, I'm holding that back up there. I'm thinking about right there, like I said, and I think I've got enough room. Now, incidentally, they do have longer ones of these. I mean, you can buy an individual one 16 inches long if you want, and I probably should do that. But I just carry this along, and it really helps me out. Okay, so I'm going to put just one little mark there and know that I'm going to be over off to the right. Now, before I measure that, I'm going to look at this box here. Okay? And what I like to do is match everything up. So because I have this line here, I don't even care if this line is perfectly level. That's the eye that somebody's going to see, okay? So because I have this off, I'm measuring this, and to the top of the box I got 2 3/8. I want to double check that. Always double check your measurements in case you read your tape wrong. Okay? 2 3/8. So I'll come over here at 2 3/8 and get a couple marks up there. So I know that's the top of the box. Okay, now I can measure this box, and it's almost 2 1/4 inches. It's in between a 2 1/4 and 2 3/16. And I'm going to measure this, and I've got to make sure I got it in the right place, because these tabs to the cut-in box fit over the top of the sheetrock. It fits a little bit different than this box off here, that existing box. We'll talk about that one in a minute. So I got to measure this 3 5/8. Okay, so what I usually do, I mean, you can hold it right where the mark is, and get it pretty close. Now, if you want to get it perfect, you could burn an inch and hold it at an inch, and then go down to 4 5/8. You know what I mean? Then you get it exact. Okay? And I'm measuring that, and it's actually 3 5/8. Okay, so I'm going to have to go down just a little. I'll measure this again, 2 1/4. And that should fit pretty good. So, okay, I got my mark over there. And again, if I make it 2 1/4, it's like, okay, the end of my tape is pretty thick. You know, I could take it like that and make a mark with the end of the tape at 2 1/4, like that. Or if you don't feel comfortable knowing exactly where that edge is, you can make this 3 1/4. Hold it there and put this line right at an inch. Do you know what I mean? You do it that way. Okay, so there's different ways you can do that. Now, to get my straight up and down, you know, I could measure off the left-hand wall over to the first one, 21 1/4, and then I can make another mark up down there, 21 1/4. If you don't have a little torpedo level or regular level, or there's a piece of trim off to the right, and I can check it off to the right, 20 1/2, and voila, there's 20 1/2. Okay, so got my mark there. Now I'm going to transfer my mark, 2 1/4. I'm going to hold it 3 1/4 and mark it at 1. Okay. Now I can just kind of put a couple marks and eyeball that, dot to dot. Okay. And I can kind of line that up. I don't have to. I'm not building a piano. That's what my uncle used to always say. You know? Nail it. We're not building a piano. Well, okay, that looks pretty good. I'm looking at it. It looks really good. Okay, now let's cut that sucker open. Proof is in the pudding. Now I want you to see what I go through, because if I hit anything or do anything wrong, I want you to see it, because, hey, if I screw up, I'm going to have to fix it one way or another. So this is not all planned out and all that. I'm going to cut the hole first and make sure I don't hit anything or anything like that. Okay? You see what I see. Okay, now before I cut, I'm just going to double check this. 2 3/8, and I go over here, 2 3/8 to the top of that plastic box is right there. Double check my measurements here. That was 3 5/8 and 2 1/4. Last thing you want to do is measure something and then, oh crap, I cut it a 1/2 inch too big, or I measured wrong. How did I do that? You know, you got to get this box up there and double check it. Now's the time. 3 5/8. Hold that up there. 3 5/8. I know exactly where I need to cut that. Okay? And I know these little flaps are going to stick over the sheetrock. And so I'm going to cut that right there, knowing that that box is going to fit in there. Now, because I'm on an exterior wall, I'm just going to double check because I can. I'm going to look on the back side of this wall and see if there's anything right there. I don't think there is, and I'm not a magician. I can't see into the wall, but I'm going to measure over from this window 22 1/2, and I'm going to go outside, measure off the window, and see. You know, I don't want to find out there's a pipe in there or something bolted to the wall so that when I cut that hole, I'm not going to have enough room to get my box in there. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to do a few precautionary measures before I cut this. 22 1/2 is, let's say. Be right back. Okay, well, right where that is, I'm glad I did that because outside, down low, there's a GFI plug outside. So I know there might be some wires down inside this bay. In between this 2x4 and this 2x4, this is called a bay. Okay? In between there. So when I cut that, I don't want to just start jabbing that and cutting that out with a Sawzall or anything like that. That's why I like to just use my regular sheetrock saw. Just going to use a hand sheetrock saw, and I'm going to go nice and slow because if there's any wires in there and you just take a Sawzall, oh, I know what to do, I'll take the Sawzall, and all of a sudden you cut a wire. I've heard of that happening before, and I don't want that happening to you. Okay, so if this is an interior wall, if you can't see on the other side, look on the other side anyways. Look and see if there's any plugs down low or anything like that. The more information you have in your mind, the better. Okay, and then just cut that nice and slow in case there is any wires in there. You never know. Or plumbing pipes or vent lines, all that good fun stuff.